Alright, continuing the lab exercises for Chapter 14. In the previous video, we basically did number 1, and we computed the optimal hedge ratio. And we're going to move on to number 2. And it says all we're going to do, we're not going to do the full-on calculation for hedging from the perspective of an ethanol producer. I just want us to say the trades we're going to make if we're going to hedge 1 month's production, and we're using a cross hedge to hedge our DDG purchases. Okay, so the only thing we really need to key on here is the 100 million gallons per year, and then remember also back up the key quantities that we get. So 1 bushel of corn is 56 pounds, and we get back 17 pounds of DDGs, and if we produce ethanol from 1 bushel of corn, we're going to get 2.8 gallons for that. So let's go back to the spreadsheet, note all of that stuff down, and then we'll think about doing it for 100 million gallons. Well, 1 month's worth in a 100 million gallon per year plant. So let's just take things one step at a time though. Here I'm just going to note the ratios that we get. So if we do 1 bushel, I don't think that's a formula. It's not going to like that either. Okay, 1 bushel of corn, we get 2.8 gallons of ethanol. And 1 bushel corn, we get 17 pounds DDGs. And we might as well note 1 bushel of corn is also 56 pounds of corn. I mean, it's prettier if we do that apostrophe. Not that it matters. Okay, these are just some conversion tables here for us. And so now if we've got 100 million gallons per year, let me see if I've got my zeros right. Yeah, that's 100 million. In 1 month, we're going to do this divided by 12. So that's 8.33 repeating million gallons in 1 month. Okay, so we're going to take this number and say, how many ethanol contracts do I need to hedge? How many corn contracts do I need to hedge? And how many ethanol contracts do I need to hedge my ethanol sale? How many corn contracts do I need to hedge my corn purchase? And how many corn contracts do I need to hedge my DDG sale? Alright, so let's get that laid out here. Let's make it explicit. Okay, corn contracts to hedge corn purchase. Those, it seems ridiculous, but for this last one it'll help. Corn contracts to hedge DDG sale. Okay. Now if we're using ethanol contracts to hedge a sale, we must need to sell a certain number of ethanol contracts. And of course I mean sell rather than buy. We're doing the same thing in the futures market as we do in the cash market. We sell ethanol in the cash market. To hedge, we're going to sell ethanol contracts in the futures market. Now we need to know how much. So 1 month's ethanol production was this. And how many contracts do we need? That's going to be divided by 29,000. We'll check it, but I believe that is the size of the ethanol contract. Yep, 1 ethanol futures contract is for 29,000 gallons. So let's just say we're going to need 287. 287. I'm going to go ahead and round it down because we can't purchase 0.36 of a futures contract. Now how many corn contracts do we need to hedge? Well, how much corn do we need to produce that many gallons? divided by 2.8 would tell us how many bushels we need. So we need not quite 3 million bushels to produce 8 million gallons. How many contracts is that? Divided by 5,000 bushels in one contract, we need 585 corn contracts. But we're not selling, we are buying. Let's make note of that, because we have to buy ethanol. We have to buy corn in the spot market. Now what about DDGs? We're going to be selling because we sell DDGs in the spot market. And how much are we going to be producing? Well, we're going to be producing, for every bushel of corn we put in, we're going to get 0.3 back in DDGs. And recall that comes from here. For every bushel of corn we put in, we're going to get 17 pounds of DDGs back. And that means we're going to get not quite a third back, basically. So we are going to need the same amount of corn, not quite, but 0.3. Okay? So let's just call that 175. So we've got this situation here. To hedge our purchase of corn, we need 585 contracts, but to hedge our sale, we need to sell 175. So on net, we still need 287 ethanol, but for corn, let's scoot this over just so we can be clear. Ethanol net, corn net, we're only going to have one row here. And I'm going to make this even more specific. We are short 287 contracts of ethanol, and we are long 409 contracts. Excuse me, we should just do it here. Okay, now it's a little bit complicated because we would need 585 contracts to hedge our corn purchase, but we would need to be short 175 to hedge our DDG sale. But these two things are going to come out in the wash, because it's like we would immediately buy this many and sell that many. Well, part of that's getting canceled out. So what we're really going to be long is 410 of the corn contracts. So this is basically the answer to number 2. The trades we're going to make to hedge 1 month's ethanol production is sell 287 ethanol contracts and buy 410 corn contracts. So that completes this exercise. Go ahead and save this file, and that's what you're going to submit for this week's assignment. See you guys later.